They say, Genesis 9, verse 3, every moving thing that lives shall be food for you. I have given you all things just as I gave you the green herb. So again, this is this sort of thing that people use to justify permission. But just like with dominion, I say, let's read the very next verse and see if what he's saying is actually what you're trying to suggest he's saying. So in the very next verse, Genesis 9, verse 4, but you shall not eat the flesh with its life, that is, its blood. So, okay, hold on. You're saying, I now give you permission to eat everything, not just all this vegan food, but now you can eat everything. You can kill and eat the animals now. But he specifically says, but don't eat flesh and blood. Well, what are animals made of? They're made of flesh and blood. So he's not saying now you can eat flesh and blood. He's specifically saying, but you can't eat flesh and blood. So again, read the very next verse, and it actually says the exact opposite of what people are trying to suggest it says. And if we read the context even further, if we go back to the end of Genesis chapter 8, which sort of led up to all this, it says, and the Lord smelled the pleasing aroma. Then the Lord said in his heart, I will never again curse the ground for man's sake, although the imagination of man's heart is evil from his youth. So this is in response to Genesis 8, verse 20, where it says, then Noah built an altar to the Lord and took of every clean animal and every clean bird and offered burnt offerings on the altar. So this is Noah, according to the story, getting off the ark, and without God prompting him to do so, builds an altar and starts burning animals on it. And God doesn't say, I see that this is very good. Okay, in the beginning, when God gave us the vegan instructions and gave all the animals the instructions to eat the green herb, then he sees everything is very good. Nobody's hurting or destroying each other. We're all living in harmony as neighbors. But now here, when there's this bludgeoning of animals and burning them on the altar, God doesn't say, I see that this is very good. Instead, he says the opposite. He says, every imagination that you have from youth is evil continually. Exact same thing that he said leading up to the flood in Genesis 6, verse 5. That it's filled with violence and we're following our own evil imaginations. So that should give us an indication that this is not God's will. And he very explicitly says it in verse 9, verse 4, that this is definitely not his will. So again, when people try to appeal to permission here, this is problematic. I want to point out one more thing that he says in that verse 3.